I want to dive in on two topics, both Ripple decision and investing. Start with the Ripple decision and then kind of move into how that also impacts investing. When you look at that Ripple decision and you think about, how Ripple perhaps was in a bet the company litigation kind of position, how do you think that plays out in the market today? You mentioned one aspect where, market participants will be more willing to challenge regulatory decisions, a bit emboldened by success that they've seen. What other implications do you draw from this decision, in particular as an investor?
Yeah. Yeah, but I think that's an important one, right? That people aren't going to be afraid to fight back. I think that, and I don't really have a strong perspective on how the SEC will respond. I mean, I think that, you have to assume that they're going to challenge this. And I think that, one thing that's important to sort of unpack is the different layers that exist within a regulatory agency. You've got career staff, which are people that are motivated by public service, like smart people, dedicated people, really, I think mostly nonpartisan people, right? Who just want to sort of, see their, kind of produce good outcomes for consumers. And then you've got sort of the political side of it. And regulators, I think historically were less political than they are now today. But they've become more political. Let's be honest about it, right? I mean, starting with the firing of the CFPB director, the ousting of an SEC head, and they have become sort of more political. And so in terms of how the SEC responds, I'm not totally sure. I think that typically regulators want to win. And so they only take cases when they think they can win. But now it seems like it's been more of a sort of a roll the dice sort of strategy. But I mention all that because I think that, there's going to, people will be watching. We're entering, as we talked about, in an election year. If you look at sort of the average tenure of an SEC chair, most chairs don't stay the full 5 years, right? I mean, they stay something more in the 2.5, 3.5, maybe 4-year range. And so I think there'll be a lot of people looking to see what, kind of when, leadership change happens, and what that could do. But I think that, look, in the short run, I think the Ripple decision has totally changed the narrative. I think that it has, given a lot of people, just sort of, I think you'll probably see people pushing the boundaries, right? Which is sort of the unfortunate thing when you see sort of courts making policy. But I do think you'll probably see more activities sort of in the token space, in the token issuance space.
Will we see the rebirth of the alt token season?
Yeah. I think people are still being pretty cautious at the moment. But I do think that there's again, like, more of a focus on fundamentals now, right? Like the founders I see are keenly sensitive to regulation. Actually, they want to build in a way that can be compatible with regulation. And I think rightfully so. I only see. I'm sure there are some outliers, and the founders I tend to talk to, there's some like bias, right? Because the ones who want to talk to me are the ones who care about these issues. But
I think bias,
right? When it comes to tokens, I think that what I'm saying is that the people who want to launch tokens are really only where the token actually makes sense, for the business model, and it's not just a token for the sake of a token. So I think we probably will see a rebirth kind of in alt tokens, but probably more grounded in reality.